more sensitive, and you take that very picture and begin to make it translucent. You begin to shrink it down and move it off into the distance till it just becomes a dot. And then suddenly I want you to pull that dot forward and to see yourself having the kind of control that you'd like. And I want you to do it this fast. Whoosh. So that as you look at another picture, maybe driving down the road, lifting one hand off the steering wheel, as that finger approaches your teeth and your teeth grow in size and the fingernail looks so yummy, I want you to realize the following thing, that every single person that walks in a room ahead of you and touches the door has wiped their ass and touched that doorknob. Everybody has sneezed into their hands on every railing and every banister, and as you touch it, it gets in your fingernail. So it's probably not the healthiest food to eat. But since it's an unconscious habit, you need a new unconscious habit, one where you begin to think about not just your health, but the health of the child you're about to give birth to, and in fact, all the people you touch. Because if you're going to be a mother, I imagine you're going to touch your child. And it becomes important that you realize that every movement and every choice you make, that when you breathe in, that you actually are careful what you breathe in. It's important to make sure that the foods that you eat are good foods, and that you don't trade one bad habit for another because doctors tell you you're supposed to, but instead to trade something you don't want for something you do. And if you look off and make a picture where you saw yourself gaining this kind of control, it wouldn't just mean that you got over one little problem. It would mean that you could face up to many, many things. Now slowly let your hands go down. That's right, very slowly. Let your unconscious begin to do it. Your unconscious can pull your fingers together. It can lower your hands. You can drop deeper and deeper into an altered state and begin to see a picture of the way you would like to be. Remember, if you're fed up with this, you've had years and years of nail biting. I'm sure you've eaten an ample supply. But it also makes more sense that you have the choices that you deserve and want. So if you see yourself in the situations where normally you lose control, watching TV and that hand starts to go up, and for just a moment, you look at your fingernails, and inside your head you hear a voice that goes, "Oh shit." And you begin to smile and realize you can stop this. Because if you realize you've stopped many things in your life, you stop all the time. You stop being awake and you go to sleep. You stop sneezing eventually. You stop blinking and you open your eyes. It doesn't matter. It happens all the time. One breathes in and eventually one has to breathe out. And as you breathe out, I want you to relax deeper and deeper. And in the stillness of your own mind, I want you to see yourself in the situations, lifting your hand off the steering wheel and stopping, and begin to feel proud of yourself. How proud would you be if you could accomplish that? Would it mean a lot about you? Would it mean that you could begin to do other things that you want to accomplish? Because it's just something that's out of control. It's a habit you've had for years. But if you could decrease the sensitivity of your fingers by making a picture smaller, by paying attention to a different picture, maybe you could try replacing pictures. You could take the situations which were stressful and move them off into the distance and whoosh, pull up a picture and remind yourself of who you want to be and how you want to live. That's right. Now I want you to take a few moments, and I want you, not just in one place, but in the place where the vacation was, in the place where the worries are, in fact, here and there and all around your mind, I want you to begin to put a picture where as your hand approaches your face, suddenly something stops. Just enough consciousness to make a choice. And inside, tell yourself that's not something that you're going to put in your mouth. And you'll discover as time moves on, suddenly you can begin to develop better habits, like keeping your hands on the steering wheel because after all, the rest of us are out there driving too. And perhaps when you're watching TV, there's no need to gnaw on yourself. There might be young children around learning bad habits. In fact, once you begin to find the sense of comfort and relaxation, you could even replace nail biting, because it probably just gives you a little relief. If instead you could just drop for a second deeper and deeper and find an inner stillness. Take a deep breath in through your mouth and slowly let it out through your nose. You'll find a sense of comfort there. You could use that comfort as a way of relaxing so that all of the things that trigger this bad habit could begin to trigger a good habit. Now in a minute, Clara, I'm going to reach over and I'm going to touch you on the right knee. And when I do, I want you to come out of this trance. And when you do come out of this trance, I want you to feel a sense of absolute and overwhelming determination. The most important feeling that human beings can have is first hope that things are possible, and then second, certainty, because certainty is the phenomenon that gets people through anything. It means if they go back off their diet once, they don't just go, it's all over, and start eating. They go back on their diet. That when people are trying to exercise and they miss one day, they don't go, well, I'm a failure. They just keep going back to things over and over again. If they begin to feel a feeling that they don't like, it means that they do something about it and go and get their sense of humor and start laughing and going, here's the trap. It's as if there really is a Satan and he's sneaking around trying to pass off cigarettes, trying to pass off fingernails, trying to pass off cake and cookies and drugs. But it always boils down to the people that have compulsive habits. All of the drug addicts I've worked with over the years always start out with that still picture. And the still picture in their mind shows them the thing that they want, and they remember the good feeling they used to get, and they're lost. They forget to turn it into a movie so that it has the full ramifications, so that they run that movie long enough so that they get to begin to lose their taste for food, and they begin to have problems being around other people that don't share their same habits. They have to take the crap off of people all the time, telling them they shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that. That's bad for you. You're not the kind of person who should bite your fingernails, like there are some. Excuse me. Everybody is entitled to determine their own destiny. And this comes from the certainty that number one says, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And number two, where you begin to take a good feeling and spin it so much inside you, it's stronger than any desire you can find. That's right. Eyes open now. Keep that good feeling. Now, Kate, that's right. I want you to do something that's very important now. Are you excited about having a baby?
Yes.
Looking forward to it. Is that a good feeling, right?
Good feeling.
Okay. Now, when I asked you to think about that, where did the good feeling start?
One side.
I figured it was inside. If
Yeah,
it starts on the outside, you have to worry.
Yeah.
That's my good feelings begin over there. No, so it begins, but it begins here. It didn't begin in your hands or your feet. It began here.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you stop and think about it, where does the feeling move to in your body? I realize it's kind of an odd question, but for my purposes, it's kind of important.
Upwards.
Okay, so it moves upward and outward.
And outwards.
And then it doesn't just disappear, does it?
No.
So how does it get from there? Does it go back around this way, or how does it get back to the beginning and so it can build itself up?
It's like a light goes all the way around.
Well, yeah, but see, lights keep radiating out. It would have to keep generating from the center out. When it goes out, does it come back to the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I've done this before. It's not my first time. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is just take that good feeling, only this time when it radiates out and comes back in, I want you to deliberately and cognitively spin it faster. In other words, let's take this good feeling and see if we can make it really strong. Because if you can create a feeling that's stronger than almost any good feeling that you've ever had, make it move faster and quicker, then at the moment it's spinning, when you really feel it overwhelming, that it's really strong, I want you to pick up your hand and I want you to look at your fingernails and decide whether to bite on them or not. okay? All right, spin it. Okay, keep it spinning faster. That's right. Faster, stronger, faster. That's right. You can do better than this. There you go. That's the kind of thing we're looking for. That's right. Now double it. Zzz, get it really going. Rock it out. See, a lot of people solve problems with pain. I do it with pleasure. And if you keep it spinning even faster and faster and faster still, and as soon as it's really spinning, then lift your hand up involuntarily towards your mouth. Go ahead. There it goes. That's right. And decide whether or not what you feel feels good, or would it feel good to interrupt it? Do you feel the same desire?
No.
Doesn't. It changes it.
Yeah.
Because you see, now take the same strong feeling that you have, okay, spin it up again, right? And when you're spinning it, I want you to make a picture of yourself, and I want you to see yourself in the picture driving along, starting to lift your hand off and putting it back, and knowing how good that's going to feel, and then spin it even faster. Then be there with your remote control in front of the television, right? Reading a magazine, doing whatever you do. Let your hand come up in the picture in your mind, and spin the feeling faster and faster. Because you can double it even. Let's rock and roll it out. That's right. Spin it even faster till it feels wonderful. And then notice your hand coming up involuntarily, and see if you really feel that desire. Or has it suddenly become so unimportant compared to how good you can feel? For years, people have tried to overcome habits by fighting with them. And that's not really the way to do it. The way to do it is to make something that's more addictive. And the most addictive thing is to really realize you can create better feelings than you've had so far. Now, are you going to do, how are you going to have your baby? Are you going to do it in a hospital? Or,
Yes.
You know, so I have a lot of friends that went and had babies at home. I think that's truly courageous and a little bit on the idiotic side. But I grew up in California, and people in California, they always act like there's a lot more variety there. It's that people are actually just a lot more rigid about a lot more variety of things. But I went over somebody's house one day, and I knew that they left a note and said, my wife is having a baby, so I brought flowers, and I figured, you know, a couple of little things, some little socks and stuff. And when I got there, she was in her 25th hour of labor, and she was screaming her head off, and everybody was exhausted. And I said, well, maybe I should leave. And they said, no, why don't you help? And I went, help? You know, I said, you know, I grew up in the city. You know, I think wild animals are like rats. You know, I don't know anything about this. I didn't grow up on a farm with all this stuff. But the only thing that I could think of was as I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she said only one word. She looked at me and she went, pain. And I went, no. Because you see, one of the things, no matter how you do this, is to realize is that if you can go into a state where you take a good feeling and you start to spin it, you literally can make it so that you can make it so that pain disappears. Agitation disappears. It seems to me that when you're in a state where things happen, your unconscious has got ways of signaling you things, of interrupting things. Whether you stop to smoke a cigarette or you stop to gnaw on your fingernails, it's really pretty much the same thing. What you really need is a better feeling you can go to. Now let's try something. Hold your hands out like this, both of you, okay? Just hold your hands out in front of you. And what I want you to do is lift up this finger like this, but I want you to do it unconsciously. Just that you're unconscious, lift it like that slowly. All right. Then right hand will be yes, left hand will be no. And I don't like no answers, by the way. And I want to ask your unconscious if it has enough now that it's going to be able to make it so you make better choices in the future so that you can live the way you want to. Is this going to be the end of smoking? Okay, now let me ask you this. Is your unconscious ready to make this the end of nail biting? There we go. Now, you can put your hands down. That's fine. I just thought I'd check. You see, if the unconscious portion of you is ready, now I want to warn you in advance, this is not something that just happens to you. This is something where you every day have to take a few moments now and then and sit down and make a better feeling. If you settle for the feelings that you have, then what's going to happen is your unconscious is going to go, well, if the best I can feel is gnawing on my fingers or smoking a cigarette, you're going to do it. Choice is based on having better choices. There will be things that will happen in the future that will be, you know, I mean, all kinds of things. I walked out in front of my house After I bought a brand new car, I got up the next morning and I walked outside and there was nothing there but a fender and little glass broken, and somebody had hit the car in the middle of the night and the tow trucks had taken it away. They didn't even tell me. It's nothing there, just a little old crunched up fender. And I was somewhat disappointed, and at the time I used to smoke. And I remember, I think I smoked a carton. I don't even think I took the cigarettes out of the carton. I just lit the end. But you see, over the years, I found better ways of dealing things. When I got over quitting smoking cigarettes, I did something that most people don't do, which is rather than trying to suppress it, I amplified it so that I wanted to make sure I could deal with it. The reason I asked you to bring these cigarettes, because this is your brand of cigarettes, I notice it says in this country, smoking kills. I think that's a great thing. And then it goes, smoking may reduce the flow and causes of impotence. That's kind of ambiguous. So if I start smoking, it will reduce the flow of blood and the causes of impotence. Well, it's not really a problem I'm having at this moment anyway. But I'll keep it in mind. I really don't see how this is going to help, though. Now, would you like this?
No.
Well, take it anyway. Just hold on to it, touch it. Right? Because this is what choice is all about. Choice is about when you look at that, realizing you can stick that in your mouth, or you can have what's in the pictures in your mind. But if you can't look at it and laugh, then you're going to end up, it's going to sneak up on you. It'll come and crawl up the side of the bed at night. It'll be there and it'll go, "Hello, Claire, you have to smoke one of me." You see. Now, what I did is I did something a little bit nuts. You know, I know they lock people in rooms and fill them full of cigarette butts and give them electric shock. I had a client who came to me who had given up cigarettes but was addicted to electric shock. Not a good trade. To me,